On this channel, I've shown you how to come up with an awesome brand strategy. I've walked you through the important milestones of our blogging system, but that begs the question, even with those valuable and important markers, how do we create an action plan? Something we can follow step by step to move our game piece along the board toward that prize at the end. In Project 24, we have the goal to achieve a full-time income in just 24 months. And I am currently working on a project to speed that up. See, I want to be able to do it in half that time. So today what I'm going to do is walk you through exactly how to take those strategies, those milestones, and turn it into an action plan so you know exactly what you can work on today, tomorrow, and every day for the duration of your project. The biggest problem that people run into with actually getting their goals achieved is knowing exactly what to work on each day, or even, for instance, like, I have 10 minutes right now in my phone. What can I be doing that's productive to actually make progress on my website? For that, we need more than just milestones. We need a more specific action plan. In this previous video where I introduced my project Double Time, I showed you how I took that end goal and broke that into specific milestones. This is how it works to work toward creating that more specific action plan. Okay, do you see what I did there? I took the end goal and I worked backward to figure out exactly what output from me would be needed to achieve that goal, that desired outcome. And then what I did is I broke that into specific objectives, specific milestones, and a plan of what would need to be done, as well as a timeline in which I would need to do all that work. That is how we take an end goal, a big goal, and then we come up with specific actions. But what's missing from that video is the much more specific action plan that tells me what I need to be doing today or right now, or what I can be working on to help achieve the next piece of that big goal. And quite frankly, that's why right now, about a month into the project, as of the time of filming this, I am already behind on achieving that objective. And I don't want that to happen, because I don't want to have to run 40 miles. And so today in this video, we're going to dig in a lot deeper to make a much more specific action plan and show you exactly how that's done. So in that other video, I was able to break that goal down into specific things that I needed to do. And you'll notice here that for right now, right, because I'm focused on creating an action plan for right now, for month number 2. And for this one, I only have 3 of those specific plans or those specific things that have anything on them. Why is that? It's because the rest of these things are completely unnecessary in month 2. They're not part of my month 2 plan. I said in months 1 through 3, I wanted to make sure that I had 170 articles of content written for this website. So what do I need to do right now? I need to figure out what has to happen by the end of month number 2. And by the end of month number 2, I want at least 120 articles worth of search analysis done and at least 100 of those articles written. Those last 20 articles could be in progress or could be the things I'm going to work on at the beginning of month 3. If I can get those done from a content standpoint, then I'll be well on my way to achieving the milestones or the actions that need to be done by the end of month 3 to be exactly where I know I need to be. What are we going to do? This is what I need to accomplish by the end of the month, but a month is too long of a time period. I need to break it down to be more specific. I know that in the month of February, for what I have left as of the time of recording, I have 3 more working weeks. I need to find 60 more topics of search analysis. So of the 120, I've got 60 already. I need 60 more. I need to write 81 blog posts. That's how far behind I am right now. To get to 100. I do have a few that I outsourced that I still need to review, but my process for that only takes me about 15 minutes per article on average. So what do I need to do? I need to get a bunch of content out being written as well as write some of my own blog content. So knowing I have only 3 weeks left, I can do some really basic math here, and that means I need to take these 60 articles, divide it by 3, I need to come up with 20 topics every single week. Well, if I break that down into 5 working days, I like to give myself the weekend if I can. I only need to come up with 4 per day. That might not be the most optimal use of my time. It might be better to take 1 day and spend an hour working on this, but we'll come back to that in a second. I also need to write 27 articles per week, which is 5.4 per day. Obviously more than I'm going to be able to do, so I'm going to be outsourcing this. It means I need to get these ordered. Always when I order content, I send them a lot of notes, so there's some pre-work for me to do, and then obviously post-work once they get it back to make sure that I get it published and make sure the content looks really good. So knowing that each day I need to accomplish these 2 things, what's the best way for me to break up my time? I know that there's sort of 2 different types of time that I spend working on my website. The first one is when I give myself dedicated hour or 2 hour long time to sit down and work on it. During that time is a great time typically to write an article or to prepare 4 or 5 or 6 different articles to be sent to my team of writers. So that's something that I could do with that time. It's also a good time I could spend an hour doing search analysis, but here's the thing. The second type of time that I have to spend on my website is the time I have between things. Sometimes I'm just gonna have my phone with me and I'm gonna be stuck sitting somewhere for a few minutes. I could go through my search analysis and I could come up with some more topics. I could just do a little bit of finding, right? I could do a little bit of brainstorming. I could go through and I could start outlining a blog post. So the reason that I like to use those hour-long blocks of time on the big meaty things instead of little things, like coming up with a topic for an article, that really doesn't take me very long, is because fitting in the big things is the hardest. Writing an article in 10-minute chunks of time over the course of a day, you end up with an article with very little continuity. What do I do instead? I try to save my writing for when I have those large blocks of time. So this is the action plan. Each day, I need to dedicate myself at least a couple hours of time to be able to do these things. I need to take advantage of the little blocks of time that I have in between to do the other stuff, particularly in this case, search analysis. Later on, when I start working on some of these other things, I can do industry outreach, I can engage with the community, I can outline videos, I can do a lot of that stuff in those little in-between times. But for right now, this is the only thing I can allow myself to work on. If I find myself drifting to this other stuff, and then I know I'm doing something wrong, I'm actually procrastinating the work I need to do, which is completely normal, which is why we have a content fish. The purpose of the content fish is to get me to do the things I'm supposed to do. I told my team, whenever we're supposed to be working on content and we don't, we have to take our content fish and fish slap ourselves with the content fish. Right now I am working on content for YouTube, but not for my site, and that's why I'm behind. So what does this mean for you? What this means is you need to understand right now, where are you in your goal? If you have a goal set and you're working toward it, you need to know, are you on time? Are you ahead? Are you behind? And it can be really hard to know that if you just have a year goal. That's why we took our goal and we broke it down to actionable steps that we could take. And then we created a timeline of when those steps needed to be done. By breaking it down into shorter segments and setting specific milestones at certain times, it can help us know where we are. However, in that video, all I did was I said in the first 3 months. And so the mistake that humans make is I say, well, I haven't got it done yet, but I'll get it done later. There's more time later. There's actually not more time later. Month 3 is actually the same length as month 1. And because of that, we can't let ourselves get behind. So by breaking your goal and your action plan down into shorter time periods, notice I went to a month 2 plan. This is my plan. I broke it down then by week and even by day. And so I know that at the end of Tuesday, if I haven't added 8 more ideas to my search analysis, I know I'm behind for the week, and I'd better make sure that I fit it in on Wednesday or Thursday. I can't put it off till Friday because that means that I gotta spend the weekend doing the work. And if I don't do it over the weekend, next week's already behind. At any point in time, you need to know if you're behind, if you're on track, or if you're ahead, which is fantastic. Try to stay that way, because human tendency is to fall backward. In fact, I started reading a book. It's called like the 12-Week Year or something like that. I'll link to it in the description just so that you know exactly what book I'm talking about. And one of the principles that they pointed out is that people tend to be extremely productive at the end of the work year because they set annual goals. And at the very, very end, they want to make sure they achieve the goal or at least get as close to it as possible. But then they start off the new year and pretty quickly fall into a slump for the entire year of putting things off till the end. Don't do that. You can accomplish so much more by taking that big goal, breaking it down into shorter time periods so that you know at any point in time, am I on track? Get on track, get ahead, and achieve your big goals. And we'll see you in the next video.